And here's the one thing you hate if you're a college football fan. Because personally, championship weekend, it's a great celebration of the sport. I know we just wrapped up the regular season, but championship weekends tends to be a great celebration of the sport. Think about this for a minute. And I hate being negative Nelly here on a Sunday Bloody Sunday, but let's just say USC wraps it up Friday night because the Pac-12 championship is on Friday night. Think about what that does to Saturday. Like realistically, think about that, what that does to Saturday, because the one bit of drama is USC in the Pac-12 championship. So if they get that thing locked up on Friday, you're going into conference championship Saturday with basically everything set. And so as we get to championship weekend of the playoff, it cleared up a little bit yesterday because of what happened to LSU, because of what happened to Clemson, because of what happened to Oregon. Oregon, by the way, here's a stat for you that we just marveled at on College Football Final and just in watching the games on Saturday. Oregon was up 31-10. Okay, 31-10 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter against Oregon State. I don't care who you are. 31-10, 3 minutes left in the third quarter should produce a victory. Here's what makes that remarkable. Not only did they blow a 31-10 lead late in the third quarter, Oregon State came back and won without throwing the football once to get back in it after they were down 31-10. After they scored to make it 31-17, Oregon State did not throw the football once. Came back, got the win, and because of it, we needed Pac-12 After Dark in the Apple Cup with Washington to determine who was getting in the Pac-12 championship. If Washington won, which they did, it was Utah. If Washington lost, it was Oregon, which they didn't. So Oregon's out of the Pac-12 championship race. But that was one of the crazier games yesterday in that afternoon window when they were up 31-10. We had moved on. We're like, great, college football final set. The Big 12 or the Pac-12 championships game is going to be USC Oregon, right? This is going to be awesome. Not to be. Oregon blew that. Washington got the win. So we get a rematch of USC, Utah in the Pac-12 championship. Big Ten championship, I mentioned it, Michigan and Purdue. Purdue under Brian Brom has been known to screw with a couple of top 2 ranked teams. We'll see if they can get it done against Michigan. The SEC championship game, LSU against Georgia. What a disappointing loss for Brian Kelly and the Tigers. I think a lot of people were still questioning their bona fides as a playoff team. They lost to Florida State in the opening weekend, extra point blocked. They got thumped by Tennessee. And then last night against Texas A&M, a team that's really struggled throughout the year to finish the year 5-7. That was kind of an odd situation for them. But all of this is to say their playoff hopes are dashed, and it's going to be Georgia and them in the SEC title. And so, look, there leaves a lot to be desired from a lot of these conference championship games, because I like looking at some of the other, the championship games outside of the Power Five, and I called a couple of their games in the American. Look out for that one. Tulane and UCF at Tulane, a little rematch of that. That's good football there. If you're not paying attention to what Willie Fritz has done this year, start paying attention to them. They finished the season 10-2. They got their first ranked win against a ranked opponent since 1984 by beating Cincinnati on the Friday after Thanksgiving. So start looking at some of these other conference championship games. If the ones that are out there, the Power Five, don't do anything for you, because I could see why some of them you'd look at them and be like, not the greatest matchups. A couple of other bits of news here on Sunday Bloody Sunday as we go through the end of the regular season. Part one, I had mentioned it, Matt Rhule, the new head coach at Nebraska. That is a really, really blue-collar hire if you're Trev Alberts in Nebraska. They went splashy with Scott Frost, the native son, come play offense. Let's make this thing sing. And it didn't work out. So now they go to a guy, Matt Rhule, who obviously wasn't cut out for the NFL. He built the program at Temple. He built Baylor into a power. It's kind of a low star power, yes, because Matt Rhule has a big name in coaching. But to me, this is more of a substantive hire, and you're getting a guy who's going to build this thing physically and build it up front. And that's kind of what Nebraska needs. They got so enamored by spreading it out and making Nebraska this high-flying offensive team. They're just not going to get the athletes to do that. So watching what Matt Rhule does with the style of football he can play. And if you can recruit and win at Temple, and if you can recruit and win at Baylor based on the sexual assault scandal that happened that almost brought down the entire program, if you can win in those settings, imagine at Nebraska with the history and the resources that'll be at Matt Rhule's disposal. I expect that thing to go nicely for the Cornhuskers, and if not, pretty quickly. So a good hire there. Another hire worth talking about that we know is not going to happen. Lane Kiffin staying at Ole Miss. I called the Egg Bowl on Thursday, which I loved calling that game just to kind of be a part of that rivalry. And Lane had been rumored about that job for quite some time. He is staying at Ole Miss. So the college coaching silly season, and I'm glad he's staying. And I'll tell you why. I was out there with Louis Riddick calling that game for Thanksgiving Thursday. And if you've never been to Ole Miss and you kind of look at what they have there, Lane Kiffin could be king in Oxford. They're renovating all of those facilities. There's a lot of money in their collective, and there isn't the pressure that you perhaps get at other places. I'm glad Lane stopped the flirtation and is staying put, because he could be at Ole Miss what Dabo turned into at Clemson, which is someone who wins big, can take some time to build it, and perhaps be in the position to go to the college football playoff.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.